The English Podcast by Ecsplicite. Welcome to a special St. Patrick's Day edition of the podcast. I'm Lawrence, and today, as Ireland heads towards the Six Nations Rugby Grand Slam, we go to the Emerald Isle to meet Therese, our colleague who lives in Dublin. She's going to share with us an essentially Irish perspective on the day that marks and celebrates the patron saint of Ireland, St. Patrick. Therese tells us what this annual celebration means for her and for Irish people all around the world. So before we start, here's a question for you. St. Patrick's Day is celebrated, as we've just said, all around the world, but outside of Ireland, do you know which of the following cities holds the biggest celebration? Is it A, Sydney, Australia, B, Jakarta, Indonesia, C, Buenos Aires, in Argentina, or D, Boston in the United States? Well, we'll give you the answer at the end of the podcast. So let's go over now and hear from Therese. Our first question was, what does St. Patrick's Day mean for you?
Well, St. Patrick's Day is very, very important for me, and I would think for every Irish person on the globe, because it's the day that celebrates our Irishness. But not only that, it helps us to remember the work of St. Patrick, who was a missionary who travelled perhaps from France, but we don't really know where, and came to Ireland to save the many, many pagans who were living in fear and living in paganism in Ireland.
Irishness is a word used to describe those characteristics that make someone Irish. A pagan is a word to describe someone living or holding beliefs outside the influence of a particular religion, in this case, non-Christians.
So St. Patrick's Day serves us to remember that as Irish people we have a mission in the world. We have a mission to share our love for life, our joy, and our sociability. And I think that it's fair to say that most Irish people do that when they live and work and travel abroad. So yes, I absolutely love St. Patrick's Day because everywhere around the world it's celebrated. In New York City, in London, in Berlin, even in the Far East, you can find people celebrating St. Patrick's Day in memory of Ireland and in memory of Irish people and of St. Patrick.
Sociability is the quality of being friendly and willing to engage with other people. So, Therese, how do you celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
For me, it's still a spiritual festival. So I like to celebrate St. Patrick's Day by being with the people I love, by going to church and remembering St. Patrick and the work of many, many saints and many other Christian missionaries around the world. Another thing about St. Patrick's Day is we sometimes like to go to special places in Ireland that remind us of our history. So, for example, we can go to Newgrange, which is an ancient prehistoric site, or we might visit some of the ancient Celtic monuments or the old historical sites, which are all around Ireland and are steeped in old stories and ancient wisdom. Of course, I celebrate this holiday with my family and, of course, my friends. And all over the world, wherever you might be, you'll find Irish people celebrating with each other.
The word steep means to soak or saturate something in liquid in order to soften or extract a flavour. So the common metaphor to be steeped in something means to be filled with a quality or an influence. In this case, history and tradition. So, Therese, there's a lot of celebrating and a lot of drinking, I imagine.
Just pop into your local Irish pub and no doubt you'll find somebody drinking a pint of Guinness or a glass of whiskey, and you can join in all the fun on St. Patrick's Day. We drink every beer you can imagine under the sun, as well as every whiskey, spirit, pretty much anything goes on St. Patrick's Day.
Anything goes is a common expression to mean there is no restriction or prohibition. And what about food? What do you eat on St. Patrick's Day?
Normally we eat very simple food. We might eat bacon or roasted pork, beef or lamb, any of the meats that celebrate the springtime and the coming of spring. And of course, anything green. This is a day to wear and to eat and to drink green things.
So Therese will be dressed in green and eating and drinking to celebrate her Irishness on St. Patrick's Day. Let's go over the vocabulary from today. Irishness is what makes someone Irish. A pagan in this context means a non-Christian. Sociability is the quality of being friendly. To be steeped in something means to be saturated or influenced. And anything goes is a common expression to mean there are no restrictions. So, if we go back to today's question, if you remember, what city holds arguably the biggest celebration of St. Patrick's Day outside of Ireland? Is it A, Sydney, B, Jakarta, C, Buenos Aires, or D, Boston? And the answer, of course, is D, Boston, where up to 1 million people come out to see the St. Patrick's Day parade, which happens to coincide with an official Boston holiday on Evacuation Day, a day that commemorates the ousting of the British troops from the city on March 17th, 1776 during the Revolutionary War. Let's give Therese the final word.
So come next St. Patrick's Day, make sure that you put on your green clothes, get out there in the forest, and don't forget to drink some green beer. So, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. And bye for now.